Hi, everybody. Welcome to my literacy map. I am doing this on Google Slides using Screencastify. It's a great tool. So, literacy map. I'm going to do 5 events for you, or I'm sorry, 6, and then just finish us off for today. So, my first experience when it comes to my literacy journey is with my first language. So, I was born in Sofia, Bulgaria. So, the first language that I ever used was actually Bulgarian. And when we moved to the States, I had a really hard time understanding that Bulgarian words didn't always translate to English ones. So I oftentimes would be very confusing in the way that I'd communicate. So, for example, the word for store in Bulgarian is magazin, which sounds like magazine. So I would tell somebody, I'd be like, oh, me and my mom went to the magazine, and people would have no idea what I'm talking about. So sometimes I'd get really self-conscious to talk just because I knew that I wasn't always communicating the right way. So I would be a little nervous to talk to adults or even sometimes to kids my own age because they'd be confused and then sometimes poke fun. And I didn't know anything else other than this way of communicating. So I oftentimes, because of Bulgarian being what I knew from home and my parents first acquiring English once they got to the States, it was a little difficult to go between the two languages and know when and how to use them, and not really getting the opportunity to use both simultaneously outside of my home. So my first school experience, I had a really hard time in school to start off. I did not like reading in English. I didn't like speaking in English. I thought it was horrible that there were so many different ways of, having to decode. And as a first grade special education teacher now, I get it. It's really hard. There's so many different patterns to the English language. I remember the word all, and I hated that word. My dad tried so hard to teach me the word all, and I hated it because I wanted to say the name Al so badly because that's how I would sound it out. But that's just not how the English language would work. So it made reading and writing really hard for me. And I didn't like exploring that much of reading and writing because of that, because it was just really difficult. And nobody really likes doing hard things when you're that little. So my summers are actually spent in Bulgaria with my Bulgarian grandparents who only spoke Bulgarian. So because I had no use for the Bulgarian language outside of needing to use it to communicate with them, I didn't really learn a lot of Bulgarian words that were commonly used in school. I didn't know the words for different countries. For instance, because I never took Bulgarian geography, it took me until I was watching soccer games with my grandfather to learn that Czechoslovakia is Hrvatska. Hrvatska is the name of the country. So things like that I would have to pick up from different contexts because I never studied certain academic subjects in Bulgarian, and I never was asked to translate or to use my Bulgarian knowledge to help in my American school. So there were just language gaps for me. What I did use a lot was music to up my Bulgarian. There's this genre of music called chalga in Bulgarian, and I used chalga words and the various pop singers to help my Bulgarian. So I just wanted to put a little clip. It's very dramatic, though. It's very 90s. Oh no, it went away. I'm sorry. Here we go. I'll just fast forward a little. A lot of wind, dramatic lights, but that's Bulgaria for you, very Balkan. So I used a lot of the music to help develop my language. Middle school. I used to hate reading until I was in middle school, where I got into Twilight, and that catapulted me down this wormhole of being a complete and utter bookworm to the point where I'd skip lunch to read. I would read in class and get in trouble for it. It was just my absolute favorite thing to do. And because of my love for reading and how many different types of books I started reading, my language skyrocketed. I was able to express myself in writing in ways that I never knew how to before because I would dive into so much literature. I would learn about metaphors and similes and about dialogue, and the dialogue I'd read in books is ones I'd start using outside of them, and it really helped me express myself and start to dabble in different ways of expressing myself with my language. So, for example, I started writing poetry. It's really dramatic, but this is a 7th grade poem I wrote, and I thought I'd include it. It's called Rumored Secret. Our world has become a plastic flower, the public secret left unseen. Scarlet ink runs through our veins, tattoos born onto our hearts, sewn upon us with dull needles, controlled chaos we portray. We bear the mark of a love to hate, fingers stained with life unfilled, bright shadows upon one's face. An innocent criminal, our future held, fate written in the hands of man. So, I don't even know that I really had an end goal for that poem. I just remember that when I was writing it, I was like, drama. So I was using, I think, Annabelle Lee as like a reference for like pizzazz in my poetry, but I really liked it. Reading really, and my motivation to read really is what skyrocketed my language and literacy development, especially in English. Not as much yet in Bulgarian. Bulgarian came later, but maybe there is some transfer with that. Keeping in contact. So when it comes to my Bulgarian language use, I never had to write in Bulgarian until Facebook came around. So once I was allowed to have a Facebook, I would use it to communicate with my grandmas. And a lot of what I would tell them is like basic, like, how's your day kind of stuff. So it was practice writing in Bulgarian, which came a little bit easier in some ways because it's a phonetic language, but it was also difficult to write in Bulgarian because of the fact that I was raised with listening to so many different Bulgarian dialects that although the way you say it is the way that you write it in Bulgarian, if you're saying it weird, or not weird, I'm sorry, excuse that, with a dialect or a mix of dialects, you're not going to write the way that things are commonly written in Bulgarian. And that really made me nervous to write to my grandmas because I was a little embarrassed that I wasn't able to write as well as other people who spoke Bulgarian, but nonetheless is how I practiced and is how I developed. Something that got me reading in Bulgarian and writing more in Bulgarian was actually Bulgarian memes. I didn't include one here, just a meme here, but memes became like a quick way for me to send a joke to my grandmas or to practice my Bulgarian and get like quick gratification, because if I could read the Bulgarian meme and laugh at it, that means I got it. Like I did the reading right. So I would use that as a little tool for myself to build my Bulgarian language use. Next is getting educated. So the reason I added this slide was because I was thinking about how being a teacher has influenced my literacy development. I used to put myself in a box and think that there was only one way to express myself, only one way to show all that I know. And it wasn't until I went to Lewis University, got my bachelor's degree in elementary and special education, and until I went to ASU and I started my degree in ESL, that I realized that it's okay that I learn a little differently. It is okay to express yourself differently, and it is okay to pull on all that you know, all the different repertoires of expression that you have in order to communicate your thoughts and your understandings and to build understandings from what you already have. And I only hope to continue to implement those types of practices into my teaching and into my own learning styles so that I can develop more as a teacher as well as a learner. So definitely being in school, learning about how people learn, how kids learn, how we retain information, how we utilize it, how we become motivated has created a bigger space for me to develop my literacy. Just because I am more metacognitive and more motivated to start implementing practices, and my first guinea pig is me. So that is my presentation on my literacy map. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see all of yours soon.